I'm obliged to stay still, and I'm Italian, I love to move. My name is Tiziana O'Hara. I'm from Co-operative Alternatives, and I'm Italian originally, so this is why you have two examples from Italy. But I work and live here in Northern Ireland. So I hope you enjoy what I'm going to present to you. It's about cooperatives. It's about how cooperatives, that it's a form of business, can actually offer, it's an effective way to galvanize and to put together a community and do things together. So I give you two examples of two cooperatives, how cooperatives being used in particular context in Italy. And then you can draw your own conclusion, I guess. Okay? So first of all, that beautiful picture is Sicily. It's a beautiful land. Sicily is in the middle of the Mediterranean, was inhabited by the ancient Greeks, the Normans, the Spaniards, but has been dominated for more than a century by the mafia. We all know, not the mafia in America, the mafia in Sicily that then we exported to America. And this is a story of Libera Terra. Libera Terra means free the land. That is an anti-mafia movement. And in 1995, that's when they started. They collected over 1 million signatures. So in support of reusing, redistributing assets for the benefit of the community. So they were so strong, and the voice that they were representing was so strong that a law was passed, a bill was passed in our government. It's called, simply it's called 109/96. And this law that is so simply named allowed the state to transfer the confiscated assets, the land, the shops, the cash, of all convicted mafiosi to the public. Okay? So, what kind of public? Sometimes are the public forces. You know, mafia bosses have a very, very luxurious lifestyle. So there were quite a lot of yachts. So all those yachts went to our coast guards, right enough. Other cash and everything else was used by the police to reinforce the police. So around 11% of the assets confiscated over a period of 5 years, between 96 to say about the year 2000, about 10% went to the public forces. But the majority were given to the local authority. And the local authority became the steward of this land and decided to reintegrate this land into the community. So a lot of cooperatives were formed to take ownership and reuse these lands. And Libera Terra was right at the center of this movement. So most of these assets were seized, were in Sicily, about 46% between 2007 and 2011. Unfortunately, mafia started to spread in many other regions. So now the assets are also confiscated in other regions, and Libera Terra now appears in all regions of Italy, except bar 3. We have 22 regions. So houses that normally belonged to the mafia, they were then given to the local authority gave it to the community. The community formed the cooperative and it started to reuse that asset. So it's practically the community assets transfer. What we know now, and we know now even in Northern Ireland, because we have a community assets transfer policy just going through our own Stormont. So definitely it's something that we are, the only difference that they are doing with the confiscated land or confiscated houses. So then the community were using, for instance, a house or a big boss was using converted in the police station or court of law, community centers for the care of drug addicts, clandestine migrants. So they were all used for the people that the mafia was actually abusing. But a great portion of that went for agricultural use. And this is where I wanted to bring your attention. Because Liberaterra started to create cooperatives of farmers. And those cooperatives of farmers started to reuse those land and started to farm again the land. That beautiful land in Sicily. So that guy is Francesco Galante. And Francesco Galante is at the center of 9 different cooperatives or producers. And in particular, he is an expert in vineyards. So what they did, they started to build these cooperatives and produce their product, and Liberaterra helps the cooperatives to build a network and brand and market those products. So the first cooperative they built is exactly the one that you see in the picture. It's in San Giuseppe Jato, it's in the province of Palermo. It's called Placido Rizzotto. No, it doesn't mean anything to this audience, but actually is one of the victims of the mafia. So all the cooperatives are named after people killed by the mafia. So the symbolism and the change of thinking that these cooperatives, it's beyond the working of the land, the reusing of the asset. It's the symbolism of a social change as well. It's interesting. Now Liberaterra has 11 cooperatives or producers, and they produce more than 70 products, from bread to wine, from biscuits to cheese, and they all market together. How they choose and how they form this cooperative, they use similar to what we can do here in Northern Ireland, a similar constitution of a cooperative. But because they wanted to solve the unemployment, they try to balance the cooperative with a lot of young people with no jobs. So but with an interest in farming the land. So, and they also included people with some kind of unprivileged background or history, like drug addicts, you know. So, I wanted to finish up. So this cooperative in particular, the Placido Rizzotto cooperative, is hiring now between 30 and 40 people each year. They all have a contract that this reintroduces the concept of legality in the Italian psyche, because the mafia do not use contracts, use exploitation. And exploitation is particularly of a lot of migrants that come from North Africa. Those lands during summer sometimes are full of all migrants from other parts of the country that they do their work for nothing practically, just a little bit over slavery. So the legality of that. So the co-op not only manages the land in different way, but also breaks down that negative image that southern kind of Europe may have, because they are actually profitable, they are collective, and they are bringing over what they are trying to do, they are changing the mentality of Sicily in itself. So they're changing the symbolism of mafia. Mafia is still a presence in Sicily. It's not that it's gone away. It's still a presence, but there is a contra-presence now. So that was the first example. I wanted to show you another one. Melpignano. Melpignano is a little town of 2,300 people. And this is the first community cooperative in Italy that was actually constituted in an open square. That's very nice. That meeting was the meeting when that population signed up to be a community cooperative. Why they did that? Because they thought that they wanted to start to develop solar panels on their roof. One minute. Solar panels. So instead of calling in a private developer from outside, they decided to do it themselves. They went themselves as a collective, and the council was a member of this collective. That's interesting. The council, the local authority, was a member. And they went to the bank, they got 400,000 euro. They decided to put 33 installation. They All the population became a member eventually, but initially they had these 71 people founder members. The PV installations save about €130 a head per year, so it's an advantage already. But also it's creating the community gathering that allow them to look at the next one. The Casa dell'Acqua, the House of Water. These are little stations where people go and take water. It's free of charge. They just take it. There is a limit. They access this water by using their national insurance card or national insurance number. They put it in there. They have a limit sometimes up to 6 liters per day. Why they are important, this House of the Water? And you don't pay, except that if you are using the sparkling one is a simple water, natural water. The other one is sparkling. Sparkling water costs about 5 cents per liter, something like that. But why they are important? Again, because the cooperative felt that there was a need to change a behavior. In Italian culture, we don't trust water from the tap. We buy bottled water. We don't drink water from the tap. For some reason, we've been educated, we become used to the idea that the water from the tap is not as good as the bottled water. And in order to change that mentality, they created that. And again, it was possible to be acceptable because of that community cooperative, where together the community decided to, again, take on another project that change habits. They also say that those little houses, it's a great place to meeting people, especially during the summer when it's very hot. So I just leave it here. There are a couple of things that I think that we should really discuss. Common resources, that they are managed collectively. Private ownership versus collective ownership. Common resources again versus commodities. How can we keep what is our resources common and we don't make commodities out of everything? And the water is an example of that. So there are a lot of reflection that we can take away from this, but not for this time. I have to go. Thank you.